Hi, and welcome to the next episode of KapVista Klips. Today we are with Ben and Rebecca from Ausmedicann. How are you?
Great.
Good, Dan. Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. So I want to jump straight in and I want to get into what's Ausmedicann and what the business is. But before we get there, I want to find out about you. I want to find out about your team, your backgrounds, your experience, and I want you to do your best to sell who you are, because as founders, we don't do that. We talk about the company, we don't talk about ourselves, and we find it hard to talk about ourselves. And what people really want to know is, who are you? Who's the team behind it? What makes Ausmedicann special? Because the people are the what makes it investable. So I'm going to throw it over to you.
Can
Give
I
me your
start?
background. Give me who you are. Perfect.
I'm and this is my brother Ben. And we're Ausmedicann. We've been at this for over 6 years now. And I really want to introduce myself, but I really want to focus a little bit more on Ben because Ben is the walking secret sauce of this business. And he's kind of the brains behind the whole thing. I'm in a support role. And but where it really kicks off is what Ben knows and what Ben has accomplished in the last 6 years. So no pressure, but over to you.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So my background is a naturopath and a medical herbalist. My history, I've developed product lines before, natural medicine products. I've developed homeopathic remedies. I've developed flower essences in the past. I've distributed those throughout Europe and the States. So I do have a track record of actually developing a brand and a product and then getting it globally. What I see the potential with cannabis is it's a plant that actually doesn't need to be sold. It sells itself. People are looking for it and chase it. And that was where I wanted to move in business. Is I wanted to have a product that was basically did not need to be sold at all. It sells itself. So coming back to me, my history. So I'm a medical herbalist. I see what's happening in the medicinal cannabis space is a little bit obscene. It's being pushed into a pharmaceutical box, whereas I don't think anyone would think that it's actually a pharmaceutical drug. It's a medical herb. So as such, it should be treated like a medical herb. And then this then dictates how it's grown and how it's cultivated and then how it's presented to the client. In the industry at the moment, like I have a bit of a bone to pick with the industry. It's grown in a pharmaceutical, like a laboratory type situation where it's grown indoors under synthetic lighting, using synthetic fertilizers, and it is treated like a drug. This is where I think we need to actually have that wool that's being pulled over our eyes removed. It's a medical herb. The quality of a medical herb is grown out in the sun when it's high. If you're looking at a poor quality medical herb, it would be grown in a synthetic environment. If you're looking at a high quality medical herb, you're talking about outdoor growing under the sun in its natural environment. And that's what we're wanting to actually bring cultivation. Where what we've developed in the last 6 years is a methodology where we're able to bring the cost of production a minuscule, maybe 5% of what standard conventional production of medicinal cannabis is. So we can bring the cost of production right down, and using my medical herbal background, we can actually bring the quality of the herb that we're presenting to the market really high. So we're changing the game in cultivation. We're creating a space that is incredibly high quality at a very, very low cost and incredibly scalable. So we're leveraging on the natural qualities of our particular environment. The last 6 years of R&D that we've been doing is very much looking at the agronomic, like the qualities of the plant, what is possible and what is not possible. And what is possible here at 26 degrees latitude on the Sunshine Coast in Australia is not possible in Canada, is not possible in North America. It's very specific. So we're able to leverage on that, and that's been a very instrumental part in bringing the cost of production really low and then the quality very high. You might call it a Goldilocks zone. So in the world, there are regions where different crops are grown. So certain regions where grapes are grown for wine. Nobody grows grapes indoors to make wine because it's silly. The same will become true for medicinal cannabis. As the industry matures, it will become so obvious that it is unnecessary to grow it in cold, unsuitable climates indoors, where it's really high cost of production. Um, the other aspect of this is the environmental cost. So I'm really quite against the level of electricity consumption, the level of like for you to grow 28 grams of cannabis in, say, an indoor grow in California, it's similar to driving a car across America, a V8 car. The amount of CO2 produced by that cultivation process. Whereas you're growing it outdoors in the sun, it's actually environmentally friendly. It's actually carbon sequestering, so it's actually absorbing CO2 out of the atmosphere. So it's actually a positive thing rather than a negative thing. Once, if someone combusts it, then it becomes neutral again because then it is returned back to the atmosphere. So what I'm wanting to do is change that way, the whole industry. I think cannabis, as it is in America at the moment, consumes more electricity, more infrastructure than all other crops put together. Like the actual medicinal cannabis space is an environmentally destructive space. And we're wanting to change that. That's what I see as the major problem. And the biggest lever to change that is economics. So what we're doing is we've created a model that is going to put those guys out of business.
Okay, that's
In a
that is
nutshell.
very interesting. I've never really thought about the wine comparisons. So growing wines in certain regions produce better, higher quality grapes. Now you're using that for medicinal cannabis. Now I've done a bit of research into the medicinal cannabis space, and there's so many health benefits, and society is trending that way. I think I watched a podcast with an expert, and they were saying that in the US, the country is so divided, right? They can't agree on anything. But the one thing that they do agree on, and I think it's like 78% of the country
Yeah.
are for medicinal cannabis. So, they don't agree on anything besides cannabis. And the studies and the health benefits behind it. I think the military does studies on PTSD and it's revolutionary. So I think as a society we're trending that way. But I didn't put the comparison about the growing grapes in certain wine regions like cannabis. So there's certain regions that are perfect for it. So that's very interesting, and I do understand how hydroponics is very resource intensive in terms of electricity. So I think growing it outside is the logical step. So talk to me about you're obviously passionate about the space, and you're putting everything into this industry. So talk to me about Ausmedicann, where you started, the R&D, and now what the momentum is,
Right in the
milestones.
beginning, I think it's really important to note that right in the beginning, this is such a heavily regulated industry, and you really need to play by the rules 100% all the time, without doubt. Being a fit and proper person in every way and having all of your ducks lined up at all times. So you can have an inspection at any time and you are 100% compliant with everything that you're doing. So right at the very beginning, we applied for our license 6 years ago. So we started out doing everything that you need to do to get the ball rolling. And as Ben worked through our license application, we'd received it, and then he started to look at what we had applied for and he worked out ways to improve it. So then we had to go back to the drawing board. This is all the time spent, the R&D spent, the time overseas going. We've travelled together over to California. We've gone all the way up to Humboldt and everything else like that. And we've been over several times to see where the industry's headed, because you can say what's coming next. You can actually look at other countries and say, well, that happens next, and then that happens. So you can really see the future of what's coming. So we've kept that in mind at all times. And Ben rightly identified right in the beginning that price compression is going to be one of the biggest problems for the whole industry, especially here in Australia. And so he was really determined to build a model that really focused on being able to provide something that could withstand that price compression and really excel in it. So it's been a long process to get to where we are, but it's kind of been a fantastic journey because we've done it on our dime. We've made the trials, we've made the errors, we've really worked these things out, and now we know what we want to do. So now's the time to take on investors. You don't really want to do that right at the beginning and be working out your mistakes with their money.
Well, I think that's been a very common pattern here in Australia. Is cannabis was very exciting 6 years ago. A lot of people raised a lot of money. And they raised the money first, and they said, what are they going to do? So then they copied what was done in Canada. Canada is a very different climate than Australia. And as a result of that, a lot of those businesses are really struggling here in Australia. And some of them are actually folding because they're working on an unsustainable model. We're able to undercut virtually everybody in the globe once. So the only competition that we genuinely have is maybe third world countries, but then by the time they get it here and then the quality is questionable, that's when we have a distinct advantage. Australia has a very, very good, strong reputation for quality. What we've been able to do is we get the best of all worlds. So the indoor guys have what's called the perpetual harvest model. So they're harvesting every 2 weeks. That gives that consistent year-round production. Outdoor people generally grow once a year and they have one massive harvest and then they've got to deal with it. And it's a logistic nightmare. What we've done, we've blended quite a few technologies and utilised our latitude so that we've got a perpetual harvest outdoors. It means that we're able to grow the plant for very, very little cost, but we mitigate the risk of a single harvest by perpetually harvesting every 2 weeks. And we're able to do that with our latitude and a few little clever bits of tech that we've got involved in our IP. It's taken us 6 years to really dial that in so that it's a well-worn path where consistently we can get results all year round. And there is a little bit of tweaking in genetics that we need to do, and there's also a little bit of there's a few little clever bits of IP that we've got going that nobody currently that I've sort of been looking around the world at this, and I haven't seen anyone cultivating in the same methodology that we're doing. So it's actually a world first. It's quite unique, and the biggest strength of this unique production model that we've got is its streamlined cost. It's very, very low cost of production. So if you look at agriculture, any form of agriculture, it all comes down to how much does it cost. It's got to be streamlined or it doesn't survive. Medicinal cannabis has been an anomaly because it's new and it's come out of a black market. The black market has created this capacity to grow it in a way that's completely hidden. So that's the indoor model. And the indoor model is just being scaled. And it's ridiculous. But it needs to change. It needs to mature. And I think what we've developed will actually be what will become the future of the industry, how it's cultivated. Because it's just cost effective. And the other guys simply won't be viable.
Amazing. So tell us about your milestones, because you've had some successes over the last few years and a couple of successful equity crowdfunds. So just walk us through that.
Yeah, so I think our biggest milestones are we came at it from a very reductionist, a very Zen approach, only applying that which is necessary, for cultivation. And as we've developed a successful cultivation methodology, then we started to go out and look for partnerships. There is a very strong demand in Australia for high quality, low cost medicinal cannabis across the board with end users, like with patients, as well as companies that are wanting to put it under their own labels, as well as manufacturers wanting to make derivative products such as vapes or gummies, edibles, and those types of things. So high quality, low cost Australian grown hasn't been seen yet. That doesn't exist yet in Australia.
Yeah.
Low cost imports does, and they've been received very readily. We will be able to compete with those and thrive in that competitive environment. with the model that we've created. So that's the exciting part, is there's this compression happening, and it will happen globally. Like, I've been watching California, and California really does lead the world in a lot of ways. What happens there is sort of then happens across America, and then America happens across the world. So I really do follow that quite closely, and that price compression will happen everywhere. And what we've developed is something that is robust and will thrive in that environment. That's the part that I'm quite excited about. Sorry, that's a milestone. So another milestone, we've done a couple of raises, CSFs. So we started to present this to the population of Australia in the form of a crowdsourced funding. We had no idea how it was going to go. Beck was really the driving force behind that. And it was just received with open arms. The first one we did was we hit over $1 million in 2 weeks, and then we did a second one very close
6 months.
6 months later, and it went. And the second one we raised 1.4 million. So it's actually building. So the momentum that we're creating is building. People are starting to understand what we've got. They're starting to understand the niche that it's going to fill, and actually understand its potential as well.
One of the cool things, a little side effect from that too, there are very strict regulations around cannabis and advertising medicines. So it's absolutely not allowed to be done. But we have a network of close to 20,000 people across our social media and our direct emails and things like that, of people who are following what we're doing. We're able to inform them, because we're not advertising. We're able to inform them at what stage the business is at. So it's a very nice sideways way of having a community behind you who are a lot of them financially invested. We have close to 1,500 financial investors, and they want to see us succeed. And it was really nice. We sent out a survey asking people, why were you drawn to investing in us? And a lot of them aren't actually medicinal cannabis users themselves, but they see the potential in the industry, but they may also have a close family member who has really benefited from it.
Yeah.
And so it's very rare to meet somebody who doesn't know anything about it. Most people know somebody who's benefited from this. So the perception out there is super positive. It's really nice. And that's in the 6 years since we've been doing it. When we started, we were quite hush-hush about doing it. Whereas now, I go to book club and I talk to my friends about it, and they're like, can you recommend a doctor? I want to go and see somebody and talk about this, So it's well out of the shadows now.
And what I was going to say, what I found is that society are well on their way to, they've accepted it and they're excited about it.
Yeah.
The legislation is yet to follow up. So the representatives of the people are not, they're not listening to the people, and they're slow.
Yeah.
And especially in Australia. But Australia follows along what the US, the UK, and Canada do, and they're a lot more mature, the market. So it won't be too far away where we start to see the government catch up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we were one of the first countries. We really did a great job in the early days, 2016, in legalizing medicinal cannabis. But since then, we've been incredibly slow. We're very, but to our credit, we don't often roll something out like they did in Thailand and try to retract it. So we don't do things like that. We are slow to progress, but we're very thoughtful in our progression, and it just keeps building.
Yeah.
So that's one nice thing. So once we do take the next step, you can be fairly sure that we're not going to regress and take it back again. We just keep moving forward. So that's the nice part of in politics.
Awesome. So tell me about your current raise. How much you're raising, and what's the use of funds for?
So currently, from those two first CSF raises, we've established our growing footprint. So basically, our greenhouse and our protected cropping environment for flowering and all that sort of thing. So we've got about 3,000 square meters of growing footprint. So we can grow about 9.5 tonne annually with that. Now what we need to do is be able to deal with that. So it's all post-harvest activities that we need to deal. So we're building a facility for the drying rooms, the post-harvest, the trimming. We're licensed also to do bubble hash and rosin pressing. So we will be able to do all solventless extracts as well. We will also have 3 indoor flowering rooms. And those flowering rooms will be meeting the market where it currently is and then transitioning into mother rooms. So we will be able to run literally hundreds of strains simultaneously. So something that I'm quite excited about is this diversification of genetics. It's really sort of bottlenecked in how it's being produced because real estate is so expensive in an indoor room. They're trying to flip those flowers as fast as possible. Whereas when you start scaling the way we grow, real estate is not so expensive. We just do more of it, and then we can have longer flowering periods. So we can then start to present to the market certain strains and qualities of flowers and that sort of thing that is still yet, which is completely absent from the market at the moment. So all your rare genetics, some of them, like pearls, will take up to maybe 20 weeks to flower. That's way too intensive for an indoor room, so they just don't go near it. Whereas we'll have the space to do all that sort of stuff. So that's really quite exciting. So this next raise is going to be building the actual post-harvest facility, putting the security around everything, and getting us to permit.
Yeah, amazing. And so how much are you raising in this round?
2.5 million.
Amazing. Okay. So where I'm understanding is that you've developed the methodology to grow at a cheaper rate, cheaper level than the competitors, and you've found the right location, like you said, the Goldilocks, the perfect spot to grow to get the best harvest. You've got everything in place. This raise will get you to permit, and then you've got the LOIs and the partnerships to then scale. So you've future proofed or thought out the future of the business, next steps ahead to mitigate as much risk as possible for investors and to ensure that you don't get to a point you're like, well, what happens next? You've thought about it, and you've got the procedures in place to get you to the next stage and the stage beyond.
That's correct. Yeah, everything's lined up to go straight into production and then actual sales. And those customers are already sort of sitting there waiting.
It's great. Yeah. We have visits. We have other companies coming to visit us. They come and see what we're growing. They're consistently impressed, and they're just like, "Come on, let's do this."
Yeah.
That's a great position to be in. Okay, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. This is great. I think it's an exciting opportunity. I think you're in a prime position because we are not. I feel personally we're not far off. Giving the being at the same level as the UK, the US, which is obviously the leader in the industry. I don't think we're too far off. And you've got the demand. You've got demand from the people, the partners. It's there. It's now just getting it to market. So anybody who's watching this episode who wants to find out more, please reach out to my team and we can connect you through to the Ausmedicann guys. Thank you very much for jumping on. It's great to chat to you, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Thanks for the opportunity, Dan.
All right, Dan. Thanks.